Every effect has a cause, and every cause has an effect. There is nothing in existence as coincidence. There is nothing in this existence known as chance. Know for certain, every choice has an equal and opposite reaction. Two important lessons I learned in life. Nothing is as easy as it looks, but nothing is ever as worse than it seems. For a small amount of perspective at this moment, imagine you were born in 1900s. When you are 14, World War I starts and ends on your 18th birthday with 22 million people killed. Later in the year, a Spanish flu epidemic hits the planet and runs until you are 20. 50 million people die from it in those 2 years. Yes, 50 million. When you're 29, the Great Depression begins. Unemployment hits 25%. Global GDP drops 27%. That runs until you are 33. The country nearly collapses along with the world economy. When you turn 39, World War II starts. You aren't even over the hill yet. When you're 41, the United States is fully pulled into World War II. Between your 39th and 45th birthday, 75 million people perish in the war, and the Holocaust kills 6 million. At 52, the Korean War starts, and 5 million perish. At 64, the Vietnam War begins, and it doesn't end for many years. 4 million people die in that conflict. Approaching your 62nd birthday, you have the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tipping point in the Cold War. Life on our planet as we know it could well have ended. Great leaders prevented that from happening. As you turn 75, the Vietnam War finally ends. Think of everyone on the planet born in the 1900s. How do you survive all of that? A kid in 1985 didn't think their 85-year-old grandparent understood how hard school was. Yet those grandparents, and now great-grandparents, survived through everything listed above. Perspective is an amazing art. Let's try and keep things in perspective. Let's be smart, help each other out, and we will get through this. In the history of the world, there has never been a storm that has lasted. This too shall pass. 3 main rules that you should take from this book for the rest of your life. Rule number 1, stop worrying. Worrying is rarely going to stop something bad from happening. In order to live contently, we need to find some sort of acceptance with this unpredictability and roll with it instead of trying to control it. Rule number 2, you must inject yourself with vitamin N. You must learn to say no and set your priorities right. Don't let anything get past you. You let something slide once, you'll be ice skating for life. Thirdly, stand up with your shoulders straight and avoid complaining. Nobody has to believe in you. It's not personal, nor is it your job to make them a believer. So don't hustle to prove people wrong. That's a selfish hustle. Hustle to let them know that it's real. Those are 3 factors that lead you to self-discipline, and it is the disciplined ones that leave this planet free, while the undisciplined ones leave in a prison. The Bees About Love. Chapter 1. Love is weak and hate is strong. What do I mean by this? It means you must be clear on what is wrong. Before you can be clear on what is right, you cannot reverse the process. You want to know what something is? You must find out what it isn't first. In order to truly be rich, you must know what it is to truly be poor. Just like in order to truly love, you must know what it means to truly hate. That is the true order of operations when it comes to love. Unfortunately, more people have experienced love from a hurtful place than a pure place, causing people to give up on love. You may have experienced love from a partner who has passed away, or experienced love from a man who had hate in their heart for their mother, or experienced love with a woman who might have had hate in her heart for her father, and a lot of times that bleeds into the relationship. Love in this society is considered to most people a weak emotion. It is considered an emotion that comes from a soft place. In order for you to love, you have to drop your guard and let your dukes down. Most people claim, they fall in love. But what does this reference truly mean? How does one fall in love? It means there is no reward or gift that is given to you in this life without risk. Love is sacrificial work. You do not get the luxury in life to be ready for the right time. And if you wait for the right time to be ready, you will never be ready. Sometimes you are going to be asked to have the courage to walk across that bridge. And one may ask, well, how do I overcome the fear? You don't. You are going to have to do it afraid. And if you're fortunate enough to be granted the opportunity to have a bridge, you should be grateful that all you have to do is walk across. Because sometimes you may not have a bridge. You may be asked to jump off a damn cliff, not knowing how you're going to land. No parachute. Hence the term, fall in love. If men truly ultra-stood their power and women respected their own power of what love could be, divorce rates would be down. But both genders are lacking the ultra-standing of what a foundation of love is. Us in the Western culture based it off what we feel, but feelings change every day. To build a true foundation of love, you first have to get past the companion stage. Love should never be based on the perks of a relationship, because once the perks stops, the love stops. That is how it goes. The self-righteous and the empath. Unfortunately, they always find themselves in relationships with each other. Usually, there is a lesson that must be learned between the two. Broken men know who to love, but not how to love. And broken women know how to love, but not who to love. One may know how to respect you, but must learn the lessons of how to love you. The other knows how to love you, but must learn the lessons of how to respect you. You must choose wisely. Usually we try to learn about the things or behaviors that an individual might exhibit in order to detect a quality person early on. However, you can also utilize things they do not do in order to detect these people. A person who has self-righteous traits does not accept correction, nor do they actively work on bettering themselves, which ultimately increases the amount of turmoil most average couples face. This is not a person you can have an honest heart-to-heart conversation with. She or he is not interested in any version of reality that does not portray them as the way they want to be viewed. She will become overly sensitive and usually will get insanely offensive to any personal criticism, even perceived criticism, or constructive, kind, helpful criticism. Reason being, the false self that the self-righteous person has built is dependent and very consumed with self-image and public image. He or she uses her sexuality to their advantage. Typically, the self-righteous male will use his money, assets, or his profession to try to manipulate other people. But the self-righteous female, on the other hand, will use her sexuality to manipulate and control other people, in particularly men. Self-righteous males can also utilize their sexuality and physique to their advantage as well, but this is a primary tool of the self-righteous female. A man or woman of quality who is modest is not going to be inclined to seek attention or validation from others, thereby securing your relationship and making it more stable. So, if he or she was not as modest in previous relationships, they will learn how to be, because the will be open to you teaching them, which is one of their greatest qualities. Again, the teachability index, or ability to learn, is unmatched. A self-righteous person, teachability index, is extremely poor. They have no ethics or morals when it comes to obtaining what they want. They will manipulate you with punishment, and if you don't do what the female or male wants you to do, best believe they definitely have some manipulation tactics up the sleeve to get you to comply. She or he is an expert at the silent treatment and really good at utilizing guilt trips and neglect. The self-righteous male will many times blow up and become verbally, physically, and emotionally abusive. But the self-righteous female will usually punish her victims by withholding attention and affection, and many times will use devaluation to get you to comply, confusing your mind, heart, and your soul while preying on your deepest needs and desires, as well as your neurological pathways. It is even becoming more common these days, seeing males display these types of negative, self-righteous female tendencies. All types of abuse are horrible, but this type of abuse is severe and usually ends with you either being totally discarded if you are lucky, or psychologically dominated if you stay in it too long. They have shameless disregard for boundaries. Do not get me wrong, they do have boundaries, but those boundaries only go one way, their way, especially with their interpersonal relationships. He or she lacks self-awareness, but feels they are always welcome, and inputs is always needed and valued. And if you confront them about their intrusions and try to get them to respect your boundaries, they would just completely ignore them, behave as if he or she does not remember, or manipulate the conversation in order to shift blame onto you without taking any accountability. They may push your emotional buttons, and if you react, the issue now becomes about your reaction, but their behavior will not change, and the boundaries violations will just continue. No matter how much you do, how much you spend, whether it be time, money, or energy, to try to repair wherever the relationship is going wrong, or where it had gone wrong, it will never be enough. You may try harder and harder, and you will still end up playing the long-lasting game that is rigged against you, still leaving you feeling unworthy and unappreciated. Meanwhile, they are making very minimal effort or contribution in the relationship, although will act and seemingly believe that they are doing everything. These comparisons can bring out your competitive nature within you, making you want to show and prove yourself, that you are as good or you are worthy enough and deserving. But in the long run, you work harder and harder, not realizing that with every step forward, you're taking several steps back. You cannot win at this game. It is a no-win situation 100% of the time. Now maybe you might just have to try a little longer, a little harder, for you to truly believe this. But I caution you, be careful, you might just find yourself stuck in this long game while your whole entire life passes you by. However, in watching the character of conscious people, I have noticed a few things. Even though hate is strong, it is not sustainable or long-lasting. Most people have given up on love, mainly because they just want to be secure and strive for security. Trust me, I understand, but you cannot get to that state if you do not know what not having security feels like. You have to know what it is not to feel safe, for you to appreciate the protection. Learn what it is to not have love, so you can appreciate what real love is. Learn to appreciate the lesson, so you can appreciate the blessing. Do not tiptoe through life avoiding experiences that need to happen. Use those experiences to acquire self-love, and let self-love be your first romance. Because regardless, many will not be able to accept your success. The reason why many will not be able to accept your success is because they celebrated your losses too soon. They celebrated when you were down. They celebrated and laughed when they thought you weren't going to be able to bounce back up, until they saw a complete miracle right before their eyes. But do not be mistaken, these people do not like you. Not everyone that is curious about you is admiring. Some are just surprised that you survived. Who you always were was never put into question. They always knew who you were. What was put into question is, why are you trying to prove something to people who are not meant to be in your life? And why are you trying to keep them in your life if all they do is bring you pain and misery? Why do you feel you should bless someone who has cursed you? Why do you feel you have to speak life into somebody who has drained the very life out of you? Don't have any resent or hate in your heart for these people. Love these people from a special place. And like I said, let self-love be your first romance. And self-love is not something you can study or practice. You have to want it, and you must fight for it. Love chooses you. You do not choose love. Love has a mind of its own. It is either with you or not. Love is not a science. Love is not a project or revelation. Love is love. It is just a word, yes, but it is also an unseen force that binds a woman to a man, or a man to a woman based on character. What is the force? The force is the all. What is the all? The all is everything, broken down into two counterparts, movement and power. Femininity represents power and intelligence, while masculinity represents consciousness and movement. Now here's the interesting thing about movement and power. Just like you have 24 hours in a solar day, you have 24,000 years in a cosmic day. That is called an epoch. What is the definition of an epoch? A division of time, which is within itself, is a subdivision of a larger period of time. So, every 24,000 years, or every cosmic day, these paradigms switch, where masculinity represents power and femininity represents movement. Now let us put this in a hypothetical sense. Say if you put movement in a race against intelligence. Intelligence will smoke movement. Movement stands no chance against intelligence side by side. However, say if you limit intelligence's ability to move, it will then serve no purpose. Whereas, if you have just a little bit of inch of movement, you can always gain more intelligence. Power needs movement, and movement is always better with power. The honey about love. Chapter 2. Love appears weak, but only to those who are filled with hate in their heart. I've studied a fighting style called capoeira, which is an Afro-Brazilian martial art developed centuries ago by slaves that used the art as a way of defense from their oppressors. Capoeira involves elements of dance, acrobatics, music, and self-defenses. There are three main capoeira styles: Capoeira Angola, Capoeira Regional, and Capoeira Contemporânea. Now, the style of capoeira is predominantly done on the ground. So, I want you to try to imagine someone trying to fight you and breaks down into the style of capoeira, sitting down on the floor trying to fight you from the ground. The first thing you're going to think to yourself is that I'm about to bust this person's ass thinking they can fight me from the floor, not knowing that that person can take you down from the ground 10 times easier than it is standing up. Like the old saying goes, do not be fearful of the one who knows 1,000 strikes. Be fearful of the one who has studied the same strike 1,000 times. It's similar to love. Sometimes what looks weak can actually be considered strong. And sometimes you can be so strong that you're motherfucking weak. Pardon my language, but sometimes I get expressive. Now there are three main stages and levels of love, and the level of love that you will attract will correspond with the level of development that you are on. Ordinary love, extraordinary love, and supreme love. There is a science and metaphysical aspect to age. Every level and age that you reach represents your development. There is a science to age that directly links to your energetic channel point system, which overall corresponds to the level of love that you attract. Let us start off between the ages of a newborn child to the age of 7 years old. You have entered the stage of ordinary love. These are what is called your root channel years. During these years, it is important that the child does not move around a lot, that the child is grounded, and the child is taught a sense of self and independence through healthy, secure attachments, knowledge of self, thorough information on his/her family tree, blood type, palm ministry, the natal chart regarding the child's numerology numbers, and history. The root channel years is the first part for human development and growth. The child is to be totally grounded, whether a boy or a girl, during these years. A lot of children miss out on experiences that are supposed to take place during these years. For instance, a child that moved around a lot as a child and were not given as much nurturing by their mothers, fathers, or things that they needed in order to cultivate the development of the opening of that particular channel point will end up later affecting them in their adult life and development of their attachment style. What is an attachment style? An attachment style is a result of a child's early relationship with their caregivers or parents. These bonds will eventually affect how the child navigates the world, how they view themselves, how they operate in a social setting, work environment, how they view relationships, why they cannot keep relationships, or even to determine why a child grows up to attract certain lovers. The understanding of attachment styles is very key to becoming a thriving adult. So here in this segment, I would like to explain the 3 different attachment styles and encourage you that this is not a death sentence. There is hope. No matter what age you are, you can always change your attachment style. Secure attachment. A person who has a secure attachment is very comfortable with emotional intimacy and has extremely healthy boundaries. This is a person with more trust within themselves and others because they do not have to deal with old wounds and have to fix things that were broken within them from a child. They are very trusting of people, but also very comfortable with telling people no. They have a healthy self-esteem and are not too much concerned about other people's thoughts about them. They are able to skillfully express their wants and needs and desires. This is where I began, but this is where I end. Again, very strong boundaries. How did they get like this? This child grew up in a warm and supportive environment whose parents were very sensitive to their needs, and the desires of the child were constantly and consistently met. This child was raised as a young person, an individual and independent child that was not dependent on the parent. However, this type of individual gets a bad rep, and in this society is considered negative to those who are not secure within themselves. The problem with the secure attachment type is they feel it's their responsibility to save or change the other attachment types, and that's a very dangerous place to be in. It's just not possible. The only types of individuals that can be saved are the ones who want to be saved. Secure attachment types should only be in relationships with other secure attachment types, whether it be business, interpersonal, or sexual relationships. The second attachment style is the insecure, anxious attachment style. Is overly invested and preoccupied by close relationships. They need people. In some sense, we all do. However, these individuals have a difficult time communicating their emotions and finding their own self-esteem. Their form of self-esteem is dependent of others, or borrowed self-esteem. How did they get like this? This child grew up in a household where their parents may have passed away or were inconsistent at recognizing and responding to their needs, and feelings were never validated. They were either dismissed or totally ignored. The parent may have taken care of the basic needs, may have been present in their lives, however, may have been too occupied or too busy to interact with the child's emotional needs consistently, thus making the child very clingy and anxious about whether or not they can feel safe or whether they are going to be abandoned and discarded. When they cried, will they be listened to? And if they were hurt, will they be tended to? Making a child unsure about themselves, creating an inconsistency in the child's psyche, thus creating confusion in the child's understanding. The third attachment style is the fearful attachment style. They are fearful of being intimate, open, or letting people into them. Do not let the brash harshness fool you, though. They want to trust, they just don't know how to. They socially avoid people and have a tough time being vulnerable. They see relationships and getting close to people as painful and do not trust others. They are emotionally detached and often suffer from the feeling of selflessness because of the lack of strong boundaries. This child then grows up to be an adult who constantly needs to feel reassured with emotional support. How did they get like this? This child grew up in a household that was very unstable. They may have been in a house full of abuse, addiction, or an absent parent, thus causing the child to never really feel the form of security and safety, suffering from an incredible amount of neglect because of their toxic environment as a child. Their parents may have called the child names, or even have frowned upon the child showing any type of emotion. Whether the child was happy, sad, excited, or angry, thus creating the child not to be able to skillfully express themselves or be vulnerable. The child then grows up to be an adult who is easily triggered by others, terrified by the world, unable to skillfully communicate, and fearful of rejection. As explained before, it is not a death sentence. There is hope. It is very possible for you to change your attachment style. Though you have certain core characteristics about yourself and patterns, you can still actively work on changing those characteristics and your attachment style. Therefore, change the way you are now. You cannot change your past, but you can change the future. It is called energy transmutation. For instance, people may give you negative energy, thinking it's about to slow you down, and you then take that energy and start a business, or you change your diet. There is really no stopping you. The only thing that can stop you is you. So don't tiptoe through life, avoiding people or experiences that need to happen, and quit beating yourself up for experiences you put yourself through. Learn from those experiences and apply the lessons. Now back to the chapter. During the years of 714, these are the years which are called your sacral channel years. Many adults may be of age, but are still stuck spiritually and soulfully between these years, which are the times when you are introduced to your sexuality and soul group. These are the years the child is to be taught about diet, sexual health, and sexual orientation. These are also the years a child is introduced to their soul heritage, soul groups, and soul mates, which in simple terms, a soulmate is anyone who is part of your soul group. Any mate who came incarnated as the same time, space, and place as your soul incarnated at. It is not hard to identify complex, sexual, or even romantic in some scenarios. Your soulmate can be your mother, your soulmate may be your sibling, your soulmate can be your cousin. But it is also important to point out that your soulmate will not always be part of your soul group, and it is possible to attract a mate that then becomes part of your soul group, thus becoming your soulmate. This person or group is usually connected to you through your root channel years, from the age 7 to 14 or before, through family members, great-grandparents, or friends, things of that such. This is the open window in which you meet your soulmate potential. Those classmates, children, childhood cousins, childhood friends, those who came incarnated with you in the same space, place, and time as your soul incarnated from the ages 7 to 14. There is absolutely no coincidence in that. Those are your soulmates. Unfortunately, a lot of people in society would not categorize them as such, or even know how to identify one, because we have not been properly educated how to. Yes, you have people who were made for each other. It was written in the stars before it happened, in which a person becomes part of your soul group that does exist. However, if you're not on a soul's mission, then a soulmate will serve you no purpose and can actually be detrimental to growth. Therefore, many divine people experience karmic partners, either before or later in life. Now, there are karmics that are designed for divine people, yes, but those karmics are assignments to that divine. Just like how the divine is an assignment to the karmic, they do not come into each other's lives to complete each other. They came into each other's life to trigger an awakening. Divine has that energy that makes people want to change. You are going to change and transform once you enter the environment of a divine, whether you like it or not. But the problem with this is that a lot of people have poor work ethics and can get discomfort towards the work that requires change. These also can be developed into soulmates and twin flames. These come in forms of self-reflection, lessons to self, mental, physical, and health awareness. It mirrors you. Similar to a magnet, anything that is meant to come together is going to have friction. This is what creates the flame. The energy you put out is the energy you get back. Sometimes negative, sometimes positive. Now, from the ages of 1421, these are the ages of the will. From the age of 14, the child is now a young adult. In the Jewish tradition, they call this your bar mitzvah. And though this is associated with a Jewish holiday, this actually goes back to pre-dynastic times in ancient Kemet. It was a child's rite to passage as they enter their adult years. You are learning now how to insert yourself into the world. This is where the child is to be introduced into his/her willpower, development, and courage as you are moving into adulthood, manhood, womanhood. Now, from the ages of 21 through 28, you have now entered extraordinary love. These are what you call your compassion years. This is when a person is introduced to your heart channel point and starts developing a sense of care for the world. Now, when you turn 28, this is when it gets interesting. This is halftime when you take a break and review your progress. You get to see the full swing of your making. Everything that you have manifested in your entire life comes back at you. This is what is called your Saturn return. This is not a restaurant where you get to tell the waiter, "You must have made a mistake. This is not my order." Oh yes, it is. The universe does not make mistakes. You get delivered exactly what you ordered, and you must take full responsibility for the results that you receive, preparing you for your years of true adulthood or self-mastery, which takes you into your ages and years of 28-35, which are your throat channel point years. These are the years you begin to speak your truth. You become a healer to others. You become vocal and opinionated, and began to learn to skillfully express yourself. Your soulmate or karmic has helped you strengthen your debating skills. You may have gotten into many arguments and silly disputes in your 20s where you could not control your emotions, being that you were still in your willpower and your heart years, you were still learning the lessons of compassion. So, when you get into your throat years, you should have mastered that already. Now you are mastering the art of becoming a diplomat, an effective communicator. These are the years where one is introduced into the initiations of the mysteries. The initiation ends between the years of 35 to 42, and now you are entering your second half of initiation into becoming a master. It takes your soul 42 years to be fully incarnated into your body. This is when you start to learn about the astral realms and things that are happening around us that we cannot see. Now keep in mind, most people do not make it to this level when they reach this age, because they're not initiating and teaching people in this way. This is the metaphysics of age and how the stage of development is supposed to go when referring to a healthy individual based on the opening healthy channel points. From the years of 44 from there and on out, you have now entered your crown channel point years and have entered the age of supreme love. You are now a priest and have become an enlightened being, which is beyond a mastery of self. You have been initiated into alchemy, those classmates, children, childhood cousins, childhood friends, those who came incarnated with you in the same space, place, and time as your soul incarnated from the ages 7 to 14. There is absolutely no coincidence in that. Those are your soulmates. Unfortunately, a lot of people in society would not categorize them as such or even know how to identify one because we have not been properly educated how to. Yes, you have people who were made for each other. It was written in the stars before it happened, in which a person becomes part of your soul group that does exist. However, if you're not on a soul's mission, then a soulmate will serve you no purpose and can actually be detrimental to growth. Therefore, many divine people experience karmic partners, either before or later in life. Now, there are karmics that are designed for divine people, yes, but those karmics are assignments to that divine. Just like how the divine is an assignment to the karmic, they do not come into each other's lives to complete each other. They came into each other's life to trigger an awakening. Divine has that energy that makes people want to change. You are going to change and transform once you enter the environment of a divine, whether you like it or not. But the problem with this is that a lot of people have poor work ethics and can get discomfort towards the work that requires change. These also can be developed into soulmates and twin flames. These come in forms of self-reflection, lessons to self, mental, physical, and health awareness. It mirrors you. Similar to a magnet, anything that is meant to come together is going to have friction. This is what creates the flame. The energy you put out is the energy you get back. Sometimes negative, sometimes positive. Now, from the ages of 14-21, these are the ages of the will. From the age of 14, the child is now a young adult. In the Jewish tradition, they call this your bar mitzvah. And though this is associated with a Jewish holiday, this actually goes back to pre-dynastic times in ancient Kemet. It was a child's rite to passage as they enter their adult years. You are learning now how to insert yourself into the world. This is where the child is to be introduced into her willpower, development, and courage as you are moving into adulthood, manhood, womanhood. Now, from the ages of 21 through 28, you have now entered extraordinary love. These are what you call your compassion years. This is when a person is introduced to your heart channel point and starts developing a sense of care for the world. Now, when you turn 28, this is when it gets interesting. This is halftime when you take a break and review your progress. You get to see the full swing of your making. Everything that you have manifested in your entire life comes back at you. This is what is called your Saturn return. This is not a restaurant where you get to tell the waiter, "You must have made a mistake. This is not my order." Oh yes, it is. The universe does not make mistakes. You get delivered exactly what you ordered, and you must take full responsibility for the results that you receive, preparing you for your years of true adulthood or self-mastery, which takes you into your ages and years of 28-35, which are your throat channel point years. These are the years you begin to speak your truth. You become a healer to others. You become vocal and opinionated and began to learn to skillfully express yourself. Your soulmate or karmic has helped you strengthen your debating skills. You may have gotten into many arguments and silly disputes in your 20s where you could not control your emotions, being that you were still in your willpower and your heart years, you were still learning the lessons of compassion. So, when you get into your throat years, you should have mastered that already. Now you are mastering the art of becoming a diplomat, an effective communicator. These are the years where one is introduced into the initiations of the mysteries. The initiation ends between the years of 35 to 42, and now you are entering your second half of initiation into becoming a master. It takes your soul 42 years to be fully incarnated into your body. This is when you start to learn about the astral realms and things that are happening around us that we cannot see. Now keep in mind, most people do not make it to this level when they reach this age, because they're not initiating and teaching people in this way. This is the metaphysics of age and how the stage of development is supposed to go when referring to a healthy individual based on the opening healthy channel points. From the years of 44 from there and on out, you have now entered your crown channel point years and have entered the age of supreme love. You are now a priest and have become an enlightened being, which is beyond a mastery of self. You have been initiated into alchemy. Again, there is a science and metaphysical aspect to age that directly links to your energetic channel point system, which overall corresponds to the level of love that you attract. The honey about life. Chapter 3. Many make the misconception of life being about balance. Life is not about balance. Life is about strategy and thinking. The thinking takes up 90% of what you know as the balance scale. The other 10% is wisdom and willpower. As you evolve, you realize that this life becomes more about mastery of self and mastery of the law. Now you have your natal chart, but you also have different types of humans. Now it's very important for yourself to know what level you're on, and important to know what level anyone else around you are on. Because yes, you have the body, but that is not enough. You have different phases you go through as a human being, and every human being is on a different level of existence. Yes, you may see them in a human shell, they may work the same job as you, have the same position as you, may even be the same age, but that does not necessarily mean that they are in the same existence as you. So what I wanted to do in this segment is break down each level of the human existence so one can go back into your natal chart once you know the level that you're on and apply the information to your daily life to grasp an understanding of those who may be on different levels and develop a certain level of acceptance. Any level you choose to be on in this incarnation is your choice. There is no specific level to bring you up to. You are the sole controller of your own reality. You decide what happens next. Now, the first level of human existence is the one that is lost, similar to when a baby is first born that has entered a different world and dimension that they are not used to. On one level, we are all lost when you come into this plane through the womb. However, when you start to get into learning about the various stages of human development and human potential, you come to a point as an adult where you're going to have to start all over again. You're going to go through a certain period or phase of being lost and having to find yourself again. You may be an adult and may be of age, but you do not truly know yourself and know your body. Just because you have an excellent job, nice car, you have a functional family, you may make $1 million a month, that does not mean you have found yourself. You may still be lost. Finding yourself and knowing your body is not based on these modem attributes you may find in society. Now, the next phase of human existence is the human beast. Many people are trapped on this level. This is not one who is lost. They understand the unseen world and the context or difference between right and wrong. They may not yet fully understand universal law or metaphysical concepts, but they know themselves. However, they choose to be a beast. A person who is on beast mode mainly chooses to gratify the body and physical self. It is easy to identify one who is on this level. For example, you may tell them you want to eat healthy and change your life. Their response may be, "So what, you want to eat healthy? There's still a million ways to die, so why even change your diet? You might as well just live for the moment." That is the human beast. The human beast does not too much care about duality or the future. The body does not have a turn-off mechanism. Anything that you feed the body that it likes, the body wants more of it. There is not much duality in gratifying the self. You just pretty much wait for the next itch or urge to gratify, then gratify that urge. The next phase of human existence is the warrior and the soldier. This is a really good phase. You have a lot of people in society on this stage as well. This is the stage when you get into merging good and evil, taking what is good and taking what is bad, and applying it to what is necessary. Now, the soldier and the warrior is one who has something higher to live for. They may swear their allegiance to a certain order or code of conduct. It may be the church, a family member, a religion, a gang, a company, or a movement. Similar to a patriot that swears their allegiance to their country. Now, the last and final stage is the master perfecter. This is when you get into the highest level of existence. This is one who learns to work in the light as well as work in the darkness. Light must merge together with the darkness in order to form creation. This happens on many different levels. This happens when a seed is planted in the ground, into the dormancy of the dirt of the soil, in order to grow into a tree. As well, when a seed is planted into the woman, through the dormancy of the womb, in order to grow into a child. And this is what creates a new light, a pure light. Now, it's important to point out that purity does not mean good, and purity does not mean bad. Purity means both. Being pure is like fire. It can heat up your home or burn it down. Being pure is like water. It can give you life, or it can drown you. This is a pure light that is not available in this dimension. This light must be pulled in and transmitted to you. This is what is called the Christos, D12 silver frequency. Modern-day religions call this light the Holy Spirit. And this light must be channeled of death of the old and rebirth of the new. You ever hear the term, "Don't hate the player, hate the game"? What is the game? The game is unlocking the perfect DNA code. Most people that die in the moment, whether it is predetermined deaths or accidental deaths, in most cases are unfortunately not ready for their initiation into the next level of self. Therefore, must play again. Allowing each human and species to evaluate, assist themselves through a process called reincarnation. Those who are not ready for their next initiation must play again and would not even be aware that a death even took place. What do I mean by this? Well, when you woke up this morning, do you totally remember what that dream was about? Do you even remember dreaming in the first place? Well, I am here to tell you a secret. That was the death. Dreams and nightmares are the gateway to different alternate realities of self. And every single day you wake up, you are an updated version of yourself that has died trying to get it right, where you went wrong. Now, when you are ready for the next initiation after your transcendence, you have reached your highest point of human development. You will be transported into what I like to call your mental library. Some minds are like libraries, but some minds are like coliseums. Your mental library will consist of all the many lifetimes and choices that you have lived, lifetimes and realities that you had not yet lived, and lifetimes, choices, and realities that you are going to live, all accessible within your mental library simultaneously at once. You must navigate yourself into making the perfect choice on the lifetime you want to choose. What do I mean by this? Well, there will be one person that will be there at your next initiation, aka death, to help navigate you through this experience. And that person will be you, alongside with your future great-grandchildren, the higher version of you, the future version of you, which we know as angels or God. You may not understand this concept yet, but you will. The higher version of you and your future children was always there and present, guiding you through your daily life, protecting your timeline, but you had no clue. Everyone has had at least one encounter with their higher self in present time. Anytime you felt you were getting a message, numbers were following you, or that one individual that you met that day who seemed to appear as a nobody or a bum, but knew everything about you, well, that was you, traveling from the future to give yourself a message to the past. Why? Because every future self is responsible for the last version of self. One may ask, how does one travel from the future in order to give a message to the past? Well, think of it like this. If you send someone an email from a different part of the world, whose clock is a few hours behind yours? They are a day behind you, and you are a day ahead of them. If you would happen to send that person over a message ahead of their time, wouldn't that be considered sending a message from the future? Point being, what we know as time is an illusion. The way the dimensions have been described from your modern scientists and metaphysicians as if it is some abstract explanation, and it is not abstract at all. The first dimension starts with the image from the mind. The second dimension is taking and pulling in those images from the mind and placing them on clay tablets. The third dimension was taking those images on clay tablets and turning them into moving pictures. The fourth stage that we are currently on is learning to take those moving pictures and turning them into a virtual reality. We can step into the moving pictures now and experience them. As we enter the new age of technology, the next stage we will be learning how to take moving pictures, videos, and images from your specific past. Step inside those images using a 4D animation avatar. Experience the moving pictures and manipulate the past reality in order to create your future reality. This is the stage where you become your own guard, aka God. You master and assist yourself. And every next version of self is responsible for the last version of self, to become who you're meant to become. You realized it was you the whole time, creating yourself, and your life paths and experiences were orchestrated from your future self. Once you master all versions of self, you are released from the cosmic egg, and that is when the true journey begins. You are recruited in order to travel to other star systems and galaxies and planets. This cannot be done by self-harm or suicide. This can only be done when you have completed the mastery of selves on all specific levels. There are no shortcuts. It is either you go within and up or out and down. This is where the concept of reincarnation comes from, because you might have to live 100,000 lifetimes just to find that one DNA code that will bring you to the next level. By finding out which choice is the best choice. And you have a million choices, or more in which you can choose from. So it is a task indeed. So take your time to experience, explore, and examine. There is no such thing as a permanent ending. Once you enter the form of existence, you reset as much times needed until you get it right. The universe does not punish you for falling while learning how to walk. You are allowed to fall as much times needed until you learn how to fly. But you must start looking at your path as a set for your future in a positive way. Your wisdom has to be sharp early on, so you can prevent yourself from making mistakes later on. You may die in the moment, but you live forever, so get used to yourself. The Bees About Life. Chapter 4. In this life, you have two choices. You can either have truth or you can have happiness, but you can't have both. Nothing in this life is a gift. Whatever is given is going to be learned, and whatever is going to be learned will be learned the hard way. Believe that. Karma is going to make sure she delivers those bills to your front door, and she never misses an address. That's one bad bitch, and she's cold and calculated. We all have inner demons to fight. They call these demons fear, hatred, and anger. If you don't conquer them, then a life of 100 years can be a tragedy. If you do, then a life of a single day can be a triumph. You came incarnated into this world with 7 dark spirits attached to you. They call these spirits your shadow. They are your protection, but can also be your tragedy if you allow them. So, though we may come incarnated with just 7, some may leave with 46. Everyone has a contract before coming down here. And if you think you're gonna just come down here and change your mind and abort the mission, all I can say is just be careful what you ask for, because you might just get it. That is what this book is about. That old saying deals with the law of cause and effect. Anytime you create or manifest a thing, you must be aware of the equal or a dual opposite effect predicated upon that. There is a purge that happens right before you get what you manifested that no one talks about. You lose things, and people you thought you needed actually can't go to the next level with you. It's probably the most disheartening thing you'll ever have to go through, but the choice must be made. You have to let go of people, places, and possessions. You cannot take those things with you to the next level. I don't care how much you love your hometown, your house, your car, or how much you and a person rekindle things. You will always think back to how they moved on you, knowing you would have never did it to them. The whole vibe will be thrown off. It's hard to love a person the same twice, especially if they didn't appreciate it the first time. People will treat you poorly just to see how far they can go. And if you let a motherfucker slide once, they'll start ice skating for life. Patterns of behavior matters. Intent matters. You have all the right to judge a person's future actions towards you based on their past and history. A lot of people burned the wrong bridges, but acted like it didn't matter because they knew how to swim. But it takes way longer to build a bridge than it does to maintain one. And it isn't that that person isn't blessed, it's just that they haven't healed, so they're not in the position to receive. And you don't know how strong you are until you have to forgive someone who isn't sorry. So congratulations if you moved on without getting an apology. That's not easy, because all types of abuse are horrible, but mental abuse is severe. Many people don't make it out of that. How is this done? You unlocked your potential by not resisting to change, but surrendering to change. And that's how you heal a broken heart. But most people are not willing to heal themselves, and that's the start of the problem. People are not willing to heal themselves, because in order to heal yourself, you have to face whatever it is that you went through. Face whatever it is that broke you. Face whatever it is that hurt you. So those troubles can lead to transformation and successes. No need for revenge when you're solid, because the jealousy that your charm invokes in people is deadly. But evolution has to take place, and sometimes lessons have to be learned, and things must be stopped in their tracks in order for growth to truly prosper. What is the remedy for this? Number 1, grieve the loss of that place, possession, relationship, or the idea of that person that you have in your mind, especially if they have passed away or you have moved away. But even if they are living, grieve the idea of that person that you have in your mind as if they were gone, even though they may be alive. Set within yourself that what you want from that person, place, or thing at that time, they were not able to give it to you, are not able to give you now, and more likely will never be able to. When you lower your expectations, you won't live life disappointed until that person gets their own healing and takes accountability for their actions. You're going to have to do the closure for yourself. Number 2, you are an adult now. You are mature enough to reparent yourself. What does reparenting yourself mean? It means meeting your own needs, asking yourself, what is it that I need at this moment? And being brave enough to give it to yourself. 3, set solid, healthy boundaries. It is not inconsiderate, disrespectful, or rude to tell someone, this is where I started, but this is where I end. Boundaries are for protection, and that's actually a healthy, secure attachment. If it's a person you're dealing with, you need to be bold enough to tell that person, no, this is me. No, I'm not doing that. No, I won't. Yes, this person will push your boundaries, but keep reinforcing them. And don't feel ashamed about keeping your distance. When you can't control what happens to you, change how you respond to it. That's where your power is. It's important for you not to be around that person because your pure heart would rescue them. But because you're intelligent enough to know you can't rescue someone who doesn't want to be saved, you will be able to deliver them their karma in such a gracious way, without hate or vengeance. Empaths are used to deliver karma and rejuvenate bloodlines. The empath and the self-righteous person. Unfortunately, they always end up in relationships together. Usually there is a lesson that has to be learned between the two. One is self-righteous, speaks up for themselves, but selfish to the extreme, to the point where they hurt others. One is selfless, but lacks boundaries, and selfless to the extreme, to the point that they hurt themselves. 4, entertain the idea that whatever that person has said about you may be wrong, and is not true. When something is not true, it has no power to hurt you. Lies can roll off your back. It's only when you believe the lies and it becomes true to you is when you start to crumble. You take a moment, you sit back, and you really break it down and analyze it. You come to a point where you say to yourself, you know what? That judgment does not apply to me and my life. And dismantle it and break down the illusion, you begin to live in freedom and truth. You are not trapped to the illusions. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The truth is a lot of people have gaslit you. The truth is a lot of people have projected their own fears onto you. The truth is, you were not the problem, you were the standard. The truth is, you were actually well put together with what you had, but then someone shot you down. You're going to have to pick yourself up and put yourself back together again. And who heals the healers? Well, the healers must heal themselves. 5, forgive, forgive, forgive. I can't stress it enough, and the only thing that can help you forgive is therapy. A lot of people find this concept one that's hard to really grasp, because many people feel like when you forgive someone, it feels like you're letting them off the hook. Most people want mercy for themselves, with swift justice, and penalties to those who hurt them. Trust me, I ultrastand, but try not to make this thing about you, and try to view it as this person being wounded and needing healing from spiritual forces attached to them. But at the same time, keep in mind that being empathetic to others is beautiful, yes, but always remember to add value to yourself first. And put tax on that shit. Protect yourself at all times. To all my empaths, your shadow is your unfound strength. It's your protection. Embrace it. You need to accept it as part of you. It's what protects your light from this cruel world. Being in your divine energy is a true blessing, yes, but it weakens your defenses. So always remember, just because you're putting yourself first doesn't mean you're putting other people down. You can still be the compassionate, empathetic person you are, while still putting yourself first. That's not selfish. That's necessity. You didn't become selfish. You became harder to manipulate. Don't confuse the two. Living for yourself in order to be there for others is logical, but living for others is a recipe for disaster, and the quickest way a good soul can turn cruel. Which brings me to my next point, the heartbreak. Now this is where you will be tested. In order for you to reach the next level in life, you're going to need a catalyst of transformation. You may have to be put through things you don't deserve in order for it to catapult you into self-love. Don't ask me why. I don't make the rules, but you're going to have to experience heartbreak. You're going to have to experience pain. A heartbreak that can heal you without hurting you. Make you without breaking you. The breakdown is supposed to be your breakthrough. You should be okay with losing things. Doesn't mean that all men ain't shit and all women ain't shit. It just means you're going to experience someone based on the level that you're on. And based on that level will determine your reality that you attract. There is power and potential you have as a being that exists within your human body. As you go through the degrees and the different phases on your journey and your quest to reaching your human potential. Now everyone has a certain cosmic code that sets the stage for their individual energy of the operating system for your hard drive, aka your vehicle or body. You hear all these new age terms that the young people are saying, like YOLO, an abbreviation meaning you only live once. If that was the case, we wouldn't have this recurring cycle of reincarnation that we are trapped into. Very few people get to the point where they can free themselves from the prison. Many figure out how to escape, but to escape is not to be free. The only true freedom comes through the law and your mastery of the law. Though there are many laws governing human existence, all laws are written and based upon universal law. These laws were introduced to civilization in order to teach man and woman how to create on this plane, and the universal laws that we all must obey and stay in correspondence with if we are to be in unison with the earth and the universe. Now here, I will cover the 7 principles known to man, aka the 7 universal laws. The 7 universal laws. 1. The law of mentalism. The law which governs all mental and physical action and phenomena. The cause of life and death. All things that are created must start from the mental state first. Anything you see here in this physical manifestation started off in the mind. 2. The law of correspondence. As above, so below. Things that take place on the physical plane must be manifested in the heavens first. What happens around us is a direct reflection of what is happening within us. Our internal environments determine our external environments. 3. Dealing with the law of patterns. Everything vibrates, meaning everything is in motion. There is no stillness in our universe. The difference between a human that can kill in rage and a human that can kill in love is simply tone and vibration. 4. The law of polarity. Anytime you create or manifest a thing, you must be aware of the equal or a dual opposite effect predicated upon that. 5. The law of rhythm. All shapes, forms, and colors manifested must have a vibrational rate. Everything in the universe is in a constant state of movement. We refer to these movements as vibrations. Blue for law and order, authority. Red for power, dominance, passion. Green for fertility, medicine, growth. Yellow for thought transmission, magnetic force. Pink for submissive, soft tone, healing. Orange for electrical charge, workforce. Purple for majestic field, royalty, celestial energy. Brown for earthbound, soil, terrestrial energy. Black for all of the above, white for all of the above. 6. The law of cause and effect. Every effect has a cause, and every cause has an effect. There is nothing in existence as coincidence. There is nothing in this existence known as chance. Know for certain every choice has an equal and opposite reaction. 7. The law of gender. The force or the all is broken down into 2 counterparts, movement and intelligence. Feminine energy is an attractor, and masculine energy is a pursuer. Anything manifested must have a duality, and both masculine and feminine principle attached to it. The honey about sex and relationships. Chapter 5. The first thing you must point out is that sexual value is extremely important. Sex is what helps you build character and determine who you are. We can shift this planet with the proper knowledge of sexuality alone. Sex is all karmic, so it is important to not judge a person incorrectly how they demonstrate themselves sexually. Different astrological signs have different sexual orientation. When you learn more about your past karma, you learn more about how to navigate through present life. You must value your sexuality. You can clear a lot of past life karma through sexual rituals and can actually be healthy if done correctly. Yes, it is a darker energy exchange, but sex comes from the South Pole aspect of the human body. This is where dark energy is located, and this must be released. Not just sometimes, but often, because sometimes people cannot move forward in their incarnation because they may have a dark node located in the south aspect of their body that must be unlocked, and this is done through sex. This is a very specific time in history. We are experiencing a sexual evolution that is taking place. If you find that you have spent majority of your life being with multiple partners, then this may be a time or period for you to not to be as sexual. Consider having one main partner or even being abstinent from sex for a certain period of time. On the other hand, if you have spent the majority of your life not being as sexually active, then this may be a time for you to be extremely sexual. Learning from the lessons that you have experienced from a past life and the imprints you have on this life based on those lessons. It is important to point out that different signs prefer or are attracted to different aspects of sexuality in general. For example, Leos, very imaginative and creative. Leos are type of individuals who like to role play during sex. Aquarius likes mind sex. They need mental stimulation. They need to be talked to during sex, express your everlasting love to them, but they also need dirty erotic expression. Aries, more physical rituals are going to please them. Physical hands-on type of sex. Enjoys having sex in wild places and erotic positions. Taurus, though they might seem open, they're actually very secretive about their sexuality. They enjoy very long sexual rituals. For instance, they may want more of a sexual ritual that may last for hours. They may want to have cuddles, have more sex right after, and cuddle some more. Taurus people are very magnetic. They receive a lot of energy. You may think 45 minutes to an hour is good enough, but they're just getting started. Scorpio, extremely in tune with energy, but it is the opposite of Taurus. They transmit a lot of energy. Scorpios will fulfill all your sexual desires. They are shapeshifters, so they like to partake in long sexual rituals that invoke pleasing you. Gemini like sexual rituals that are hands-on. They can get turned on and stimulated by the hands alone. Massage therapy is their favorite, whether it's professional or not. A Gemini does not have to penetrate someone or get penetrated to feel erotic. They can get just as much of an organismic energy just by putting your hands on them. Cancer likes to cuddle, feel supported and held around their chest like a shell. But Cancer's secret is that they like it rough and are extremely sexual, but prefer to be held first. After the cuddles though, it's game over. Virgos are all mental. You got to get the mind first before you get in the panties or before you get that sword. Virgos are very shy with their sexuality at first. So, they need mental tantra before you bring their sexuality out and for them to feel comfortable with you sexually. But after they feel comfortable with you, it's game on. Libras are an extension of Virgos. They are just as mental, but have a very high sex drive. Libras love sex all the time and any time, but they need compassion and love in order to properly take part in the sexual act. In order for them to open up to you sexually, they have to feel connected to you. They value depth and connection. Sagittarius is a fire sign, so they are very intense erotically. They have a very strong sex drive and need to be physically activated. Their erotic zones are around their legs. You can put your hands on a Sagittarius, yes, but be careful because they're going to want to go all the way. Capricorn are earth signs. Their whole body is an erotic zone, so they need to be activated from the physical body. But do not let their harshness and brashness fool you. Capricorns need cuddles, softness, and attention. Capricorns come off like they are sex freaks who rather fuck or strike hard, but beneath the surface, they value connection and vibes. They liked being talked to during sex, and even wouldn't mind having a conversation after. Pisces, the dreamer. Pisces will have you in a long-distance relationship, having internal and external orgasms, coming or squirting from miles away without even touching you. Pisces enjoy subconscious sex rituals, so they love to make your fantasy come through by imagination. They get an orgasm just by seeing you get one. Now, how healthy you are sexually has nothing to do with your drive, because you may have a high sex drive, but you may not last that long. Or you may have a high sex drive, but may not properly be educated on what to do with it. Now you have 3 types of sexual experiences. Those who practice sex for appetite, which are the most people on the planet. They want to get a good nut in, or a good squirt in, or need to release so they partake in sex. Then you got another group who want to conceive a child, so they partake in the sexual act to bring forth a family. But there is another method which one can use, a third group which is rarely talked about, and that is those who use sexual magic to manifest and create. And this method is not really about focusing on your breath, but more tied into being able to focus your intent on certain areas of the body. Before we jump into sexual magic, the first thing we have to do is explain the 5 different sexual energy channel points located in and around your body. You have your first sexual channel point located within your feet. This is a form of stimulation because it is what triggers your childhood memories and reasoning for wanting to live, and it is a desire that must be activated in order to be converted. Did you know that the bottom of your feet could affect what's going on in other areas of your body? On each foot, there are over 7,000 nerve endings called reflexes that correspond to every organ and system within your body. By pressing on these reflex points, you stimulate the nervous system and open energy pathways that may be blocked or congested. Your second sexual channel point is located in your lower midsection within your perineum gland. The perineum is the region between the thighs, bounded by the scrotum and anus in males, and by the opening of the vagina and the anus area in females. This deals with your darkest sexual desires, sensations, and fetishes. Also, for men known as your gooch. This energy point must be activated as well in order to be converted. Your third sexual channel point is a very important one, which is located in the mid part of your upper body within the enteric nervous system. This aspect of the body is what stimulates you emotionally. This is the engine to your energy system, commonly known as the heart organ, gut, or inner brain. This energetic channel point contains 4 main sections, chambers, made of muscle and powered by electrical impulses. Being that this sexual channel point is the engine, it is responsible for pumping the energy and disputing, converting toxic waste of the 2 lower energy points as explained above. That's a lot of work for an organ no bigger than a large fist and weighing 8 to 12 ounces. Your 4th sexual energy channel point is a very vital one because it is the messaging center. It is what converts energy from the body to the mind. It is resembled as a snake coiled at the base of the spine and often referred to as the Kundalini. And it is responsible for carrying out messages to the mind and body, vertebrae, and your spinal cord. This is related to your emotion. Every part of your spine corresponds to an organ controlled by this energy. The 5th and last energy point is located on your crown near your medulla oblongata, which is the bottommost part of your brain. Its location meets where your brain and spinal cord connect, making it a key conduit for nerve signals to and from your body. It also helps control vital processes like your heartbeat, breathing, and blood pressure. It is a very complex sexual energy point because it controls the thought, memory, emotion, touch, motor skills, vision, breathing, temperature, and every process that regulates the rest of the energy channel, points through the body, as explained above. It is what stimulates you mentally. This energy point sends and receives chemical and electrical signals throughout the rest of the system. Different signals control different processes, and this energy point interprets each. Some messages are kept within the brain, while others are relayed through the spine and across the body's vast network. Billions of neurons rely on this energy to be activated. Once all 5 energy channel points are activated, you will receive a 6 energy halo on top of your crown as a mark of unison of the complete D12 silver frequency. Your goal in life should be to make sure that all these channel points within your body are always activated simultaneously. When you are within the sexual act, there is a certain rhythm and vibration that takes place, causing a direct current or a burst of explosion. For a male, this explosion is commonly known as busting a nut. This same explosion happens for a woman as well, but when a female has an explosion, she experiences what is called an internal orgasm. Whereas when a man is busting a nut, it's most likely not an orgasm. It's important to point out that there are different types of orgasms men and women can experience. You can experience an internal orgasm. A male is a species of a sex or an organism, gamete, that produces sperm that fertilizes the female. However, whereas the term men derives from the term mental. Men, aka mental being, governmental, sentimental, elemental. Get my point. But at what point of time do you make the distinguishment between man and the animals? Man versus mankind? Yes, it is true. Indeed, the man is designed to spread his seed around the planet. But this did not mean to impregnate multiple women in the process. It meant to spread your intelligence and raise the mind of every man and woman you come across in life. If those relationships, for whatever reason, happen to evolve into something greater, then that should be taken upon by those individuals or parties involved. As a woman is a thinker, mental being with a womb, and a man is a thinker, mental being without a womb. Now, it is important to point out that femininity is part of womanhood, yes, but it does not define it. There is a difference between a woman who is masculine at core and carries feminine traits, between a woman who is feminine at core and may carry masculine traits. And it is hard to distinguish the difference between men of confidence and male power consumption. So what does it mean to be masculine? It seems these days the description keeps changing. Masculinity is a part of manhood. Yes, but it does not define it. As to say, masculinity is to be more perceived as an action than it is an emotion. This is incorrect. Or an external orgasm. Yes, men can experience internal orgasms as well, but unfortunately, haven't received the proper sexual education on how to do so. You can have more of a pleasurable and enjoyable experience in the sex act than just busting a nut. The reason you are busting a nut, what is happening energetically, is that sexual energy is rising from the base of your spine and shoots out your crown. Usually when you bust a nut, a male or female tends to feel more relaxed, almost similar to a painkiller. If you had a headache prior to it, then it would probably go away. There's healing and manifestation energy within that, but you missed it and wasted it. You did not complete the process, and you did not receive the halo, making the sex act a number 6. Whereas when you are partaking in the sexual act within the energy of number 8, you are completing the cycle. These practices were indivisibly combined with rituals in ancient Kemet, bringing about a wholly integrated therapy treatment. Energy is supposed to naturally flow through your body like a number 8. I need you to close your eyes, envision and imagine this. As you're partaking in the sex act, you are imagining the sexual energy flowing through your body as it reaches every single part of your sexual channel point, starting from the base, all the way to the crown, and all the way back down. Now picture this energy, which starts from the base of your feet towards the right side of your body, to the top of your crown, down to the left side of your body, making a crossway at the middle, and making its way back down to repeat the cycle, flowing through your body within a rotated form and function similar to the number 8. There is so much heat and energy available at that specific and exact time that if you tapped into it, you could heal major diseases within a couple of weeks of practicing, if done correctly. The more frequently you practice it, the better you become at healing yourself. How is this demonstrated? When you do this for a certain period of time, as you keep your energy focused in that way, right as an internal orgasm takes place, at that exact moment, you want to think of the goal you dream to manifest as you climax. Initially, what you are doing is you're sending out the frequency of as a signal to the universe. And this energy is like a magnetic force which flows through your body. This is what the ancients would call the rising of the Kundalini. This is what sex was supposed to be used for, magnetic energy to create and to attract. But again, you are supposed to be partaking in 8 and not sex. Sex is just another spellbound way of saying the number 6. See how they flipped that on you? A woman naturally forms this when she experiences an internal orgasm, but she does not really have to focus like a male to attract. A male has to intentionally focus, since his sexual energy is direct. Because men's sexual energy is direct, you have premature males that tend to make the misconception or assumption of thinking women want to be smashed or banged out with direct energy. And let me tell you something, women do not want to be smashed. Women want to be vibrated, and women want rhythm. Rhythm and vibration is what is needed. And if you can master the art of vibration and rhythm, you can create a more fulfilling and satisfying orgasm for you and your partner, and can have a more pleasurable experience with injaculating than ejaculating. This goes for men or women, and this is how some of your ancient Comedics would practice or partake in the sex act in the ancient mystery school systems. They had mastered the ability to have internal orgasms and not external, for the main purpose of keeping the energy within them, in order to keep the Kundalini activated for creation and magic. They had mastered the ability not to spill semen or push out fluids up to a certain period of time during the sex act. This is common for men to have experienced an internal orgasm and not be aware of it. And the women, same thing. The explosion happens within. She experiences an internal orgasm. But the difference is, this is not uncommon for a woman. Women strive to have internal orgasms, whereas males wouldn't even know what one is. In some schools of thought, they teach that a man should not spill semen because it is not healthy. And yes, this is true. Spilling semen is unhealthy if done improperly and excessively. A person should never do anything excessively, but at the same time, a man should be able to know how to experience pleasure as well as a woman, but they just need to know how to properly do it. Because women are not always getting the internal pleasure a lot of times either, or the type of orgasms that they should be getting in order to be healthy and to heal themselves. It's that key to your life. If you're not having healthy orgasms, then you cannot be healthy spiritually or soulfully. And if you are not in a relationship, then you are going to have to do what you have got to do to partake in certain practices and rituals in order to keep yourself healthy. A lot of women want faithfulness, but have low sex drives. The B's they don't talk about. 40% of women in marriages have low libido, but only 12% are actually bothered by it. 3 things a porn star and a prostitute does that a wife doesn't. Now mind you, I'm not condemning him going somewhere else or having affairs, nor do I agree with prostitution. I'm just helping you come to grips on what a woman can be doing to help cause a man to feel rejected and what she could do to easily prevent it. I would say you have about a 3-day span where if you become lack on your response to spontaneous desire, lack on the response to sexual thoughts or fantasies, and lack of response on motivation for sex, it will get to the point where the quality man may become irritated now, frustrated, and his whole personality will change. 3-day span is all you should be going without loving on your man, most especially if he is a man that doesn't get to spend much time at home. Do not be mistaken. Not all quality men consider loving being sex and lingerie all the time just because you in his presence. Most quality men like it nice, cute, and relaxed. Some sexy boxer briefs, a gown that's form-fitting. Look in his eyes, tell him you love him. Yup, that's simple. Now many have heard the saying, the keys to a man's heart is his stomach. And though this is a common saying and seemingly believable, I am here to tell you that it is not true. The true key to a man's heart is his eyes. A lot of married women over time overlook the importance of looking into their husband's eyes. When you lock eyes with a man, that is the gateway to his heart. The prostitute's ability to make him feel that he is the only one in the room and the only one in the world in that moment that matters. She is able to tell whether he is sad, happy, not feeling well, or disappointed just by mastering the ability of the emotion within his eyes. When you lock eyes with a man, you are able to make him feel that you understand him and you're paying attention and can apply what type of treatment he may need based on the emotion in his eyes alone. The prostitute understands it's really not all about sexual acts. It is all about mastering the ability to please your man based on the emotions that he is experiencing. What can I do to please you today? It's the main phrases that most wives do not use. Most wives are not open to creating fantasies. And men are very visual individuals. He craves novelty. The porn star provides the fantasy and novelty they may not be getting at home. Whether it's dressing up, role-playing, wearing silk or sexy clothing at night, or whenever she is in his presence, or simply just asking what his sexual fantasies are and providing those sexual desires. Every quality woman should ask their partner at least once a month, what are your sexual fantasies this month? Get yourself a drawing board or a sheet of paper, whatever works for you, and I want you to draw down 3 columns. And these 3 columns will consist of 3 sexual fantasies of you and your partner. One will be what you're absolutely willing to do. The second column will be what you're willing to explore. And the third column will be what you are absolutely not willing to do, and why. This is an exercise that every husband and wife should do at least once a month. What is amazing about this exercise is when you share what you're absolutely willing to explore, this ignites romance and fantasy back into the relationship and also gets you to understand the proper needs of your partner and whether you are willing to bend your principles to be with that individual or not. At some point, you will come to a crossroad to where you would have to make a decision to what you're willing to do and not willing to do. Point being, approaching your partner about your sexual fantasies does not always have to be confrontational or a major deal breaker. Sometimes you just have to take a different approach. But a quality man will not lie to you about his fantasies. He will offer solutions to help initiate romance and intimacy back into the relationship. Intimacy has nothing to do with sex. Intimacy is what allows your partner to see into you, to see into your soul without any filters. Your walls are down and you're open. A lot of this can be done just by partaking in an active, healthy lifestyle, breathing techniques, cold showers, and keeping your stamina and endurance up. But sexual healing will be needed, and at some point, you should try to actively find a partner to practice with. The Bees About Sex. Chapter 6. The guilt of sex is the biggest spell on the planet and is something that has been suppressed in our society, causing sexual health to be suppressed to the masses. The reason a lot of people do not thrive sexually is because many people have a lot of sexual guilt. And anywhere you can create guilt, you can create a prison. Though I may not be one to be known as sexual liberated, however, I am in support of experimental sex because I feel with the introduction of new experimental sex, it will bring forth the introduction of new experimental relationships. Whether it be extended families, power couples, power groups, endogamy, polygamous, covenant marriages, polyamory, or polyandry relationships. Do not let social media or society fool you. Men need women, and women need men. The jobs, careers, and relationships that we have now are going to melt down and break down, and it is only going to be the intuitive thinker, man and women, that will be able to solve the problems that our society will shortly be getting ready to encounter. However, though I am for experimental sex, I must point out that the sex you are practicing and experimenting in must be clean and not cause physical or emotional harm. The only time sex is not healthy or not good for you is when you are lying about the sex you are having or partaking in unclean acts. This involves sex with injections of drugs or any type of sexual activity into the anal area. It is the riskiest kind of sex for both men and women to get and spread disease on the planet. Why is that? The answer is anatomy. The penis was made for the vagina. The vagina was not made for the penis. What do I mean by this? The penis only has two functions, which is to urinate and to have sex. The penis fits perfectly into the vagina. The vagina, however, is made for multiple functions. It is used to create pleasure, get rid of wastes, urinate, conceive a child, create life, and is a galactic portal. The rectum or the anal, on the other hand, does not carry any of these functions other than to get rid of waste, making the lining of the anus much thinner than the vagina, so it can be damaged much more easily, which creates physical harm and vulnerability to infection. And injecting is one of the main causes of health damage related to illegal drug use today, to fatal and non-fatal overdoses, as well as the transmission of infections. The main reason you really want to understand sexual health is because sexual health links directly to your spirituality, and your spirituality is directly rooted into your soul's karma. Now the answer may come up, can certain evolution take place on this planet until this dark bohemian sexual energy within the earth is released? And the answer is no. This is the same energy that has been lying dormant from all the demonic rapings, killings, and unhealthy sexual acts that this planet has endured. This is the same energy magnetic pole shifts consist of when an evolution is getting ready to take place. Certain energies in people have to be utilized to release and get rid of this old sexual waste that has been located deep within the planet in order to bring in a new form of sexual heritage and evolution. Human experiences are directly tied into sexual karma at this moment, which is connected to unfulfilled desires, experiences, and roles they wanted to play. Not allowing these personalities and energies living within you to play out by burning out desires is what is causing a delay on evolution. Since we cannot express ourselves on a sexual level, and we do not really know how to do certain rituals, it is causing a lot of spirits and souls to get stuck here, which is creating a lot of sexual karma. You don't necessarily need multiple sex partners. You just need to be with the right partner that knows you. You know their body, and they know yours. But here in the Western world, we know nothing of sexual magic because of religion, suppression of sexual expression. The women and the feminine aspect are the key and the secret to understanding the secrets of Heka. And when you study and finally ultrastand the feminine aspect, that is when you finally get into mastering and understanding what sexual magic truly is. So sexual arts have been deprived, twined, and condemned through the institution of marriage, leaving it a secret by calling the act 6, aka sex. Instead of 8, the natural cycle in which our body is supposed to be rotating in. In ancient Kemet, they did not call this sex, they called it Heka. The force of Heka could be utilized to accomplish a number of extraordinary purposes. Egyptologists have always attempted to fit Heka within the conceptual space of what modern scholars understand as magic. But Heka does not neatly fit into this category. Heka is not the sorcerer's malevolent power that can be used and put to the side. It is instead a force that created and propelled the universe, but could also be manipulated by the actions, words, objects, and images to bring about a desired result. Heka did not have a negative valence. It is how the universe functioned. Heka was neither positive nor negative. It was instead a cosmic force that could be used to destroy or to protect. This cosmic force, which the Comedics called Heka, in the origin stories, the Prime Creator uses Heka to make the world. As a result, every aspect of the universe is made of Heka. Because of this creative act, Heka made deities, humans, land, water, animals, plants, everything. So sexual arts have been deprived, twined, and condemned through the institution of marriage. Did you know the term marry a wife originally traces back the meaning to twist and put a veil over? The original term wife comes from the Latin word nubere, to veil myself, for get married to, marry, wed, for a woman. Or nunta, which derived from Latin word nuptiae, wedding, or nupta, bride. Veiling was thus not only a marker of aristocratic rank, but also served to differentiate between respectable women and those who were publicly available. The veiling of matrons was also customary in ancient Greece. Between 550 and 323 BCE to fatal and non-fatal overdoses, as well as the transmission of infections. The main reason you really want to understand sexual health is because sexual health links directly to your spirituality, and your spirituality is directly rooted into your soul's karma. Even if you are an extrovert, you need some you time to recharge your batteries. And if your partner is an introvert, it's especially important to spend time apart. Quoted by Emma McGowan. My parents have been married for almost 30 years, and I'm convinced they've lasted this long, largely because they've always taken space in their relationship. When I was a kid, my mom, a morning person, took on childcare in the morning, and my dad, a night person, had us in the evenings. It was a great system for my brother and I, giving us almost equal time with both parents. But it also meant that my parents straight up didn't see much of each other for the first 12 years of my life. Additionally, my parents have totally different interests. My mom is an avid gardener and reader, while my dad loves to dance the night away to electronic music. As a result, they've spent a lot of time apart during those 30 years together, and I think that's awesome. I've seen how they value the time they do get together, and how they've both maintained their individuality, even after decades at each other's sides. I've witnessed the fact that you don't have to have everything in common with your partner in order to be a great fit, and that doing stuff apart only makes your relationship stronger. By giving ourselves space to think and process our emotions, we also reduce the likelihood of lashing out at our partners or using other poor communication methods. Overall, space provides emotional clarity, the opportunity to take care of our specific needs, and a sense of individuality that we all can benefit from. The truth of the matter is, the mind state of a quality man is to keep himself as confident, respected, and accomplished as possible. And because of this determination, men need masculine space to themselves. It is impossible for two individuals to coexist on an everyday basis without getting affected by each other's presence and energy. You are going to become less masculine if you spend the majority of your time in a feminine space. Those are the B's. A woman rejuvenates her feminine energy once in every month. She will be feminine regardless. Whereas men need separation from feminine energy and masculine space to themselves. Not just sometimes, but often. Why is that? Men of quality need time to think. When you are able to use your problem-solving skills, discernment, judgment, wisdom, knowledge, and experience to help relieve stress for your family by taking the load off. Stepping up, sacrificing, being the leader, and learning the ways of how to be an effective predator in the world gives him purpose. Toxic males do not step up, take accountability, or responsibility for doing something terrible, even when the evidence is crystal clear. they are fearful and rather die than to accept any kind of accountability. On top of that, not only will they not take accountability and responsibility, but they would usually manipulate the narrative into blaming you for them not stepping up. I am not joking neither, and it's mind-blowing how much this actually happens. But at the same time, never underestimate a recovering addict, an ex-stick-up kid, an ex-drug dealer, or ex-prostitute. There is something admirable and special about a person that confronts the dark parts of themselves and rises up out of the darkness and becomes a phoenix. The Most High is moved by that person and will utilize these people. Why? Because they move on their own separate set of principles and code of conduct and move in life without fear. They are not zombies like everyone else on the planet because they have seen the dark night of the soul and utilizes the dark parts of themselves, whereas a person that has not is obedient to the world's rules and world's views. They are in the world and of the world and lack courage. The Most High will not use or utilize this person. And this is a very dangerous place to be in because this person is so good and too good that they won't step out of line to do what they feel is right. They will work against the intelligence that is sent directly to them, hence the term, being good for nothing. So it is your responsibility as the masculine energy and as a mate to put your woman back on her throne. But at the same time, because of this attribute, she will very much admire you and look up to you. So much so that she will even adopt your mannerisms, characters, and energy. The more frequent you spend time with each other, the more she would become like you. From speech patterns, eating the foods you like to eat, she may even absorb your masculinity and go as far as wearing your clothes. Yes, these are the B's you have to be aware of when you're finding a quality woman. She will look up to you. A quality woman is magnetic by nature. In conclusion, information is the basis of warfare. What you know will determine how effective you are in combat. And in this life, someone can corner you and can defeat you in the line of battle just by having a stronger mind than you. And if your mind is strong enough, you can kill that person without even having to lay a finger on them. The war for your mind is deeply rooted. So stay equipped. What if I told you that everything you were taught was a lie? Would you have enough guts to start from scratch? Would you trust what you feel? Sometimes it is easier to digest information when you receive the lesson as a story or a book, rather than when given the lesson directly. Reason being, even though you may think a person may understand a lot better by speaking directly, usually what a person looks at when you are teaching directly is your emotion, your spirit, the way you are talking, facial expressions X'd. This can cause a person to not get the meat out of what you are truly trying to explain or convey. So, this is why the ancients and ancestors chose to pass down this high-level information through stories. See, in modern-day schools and universities, they give us scientific formulas, mathematical equations, and what I like to call left-sided textbook information. And yes, though some of this information can be analytical to some, and even useful, however, it is not the most effective way to teach in regard to human beings. Why? Because this is what you call dimensional information, and it can be seen, viewed, and taught on so many diverse levels. So much so that there is not really a right or wrong answer, or right or wrong way to teach it. And when you are dealing with mysticism, you are transmitting that on a dimensional level. This is not just direct information, so that's the first thing you must understand. Therefore, the Bible, and even books that predate the Bible, was all written in parables in a story format. Overall, a lot of people have been shooting me a lot of emails and DMs saying, I seen the things you've been talking about. I've been seeing the shift on the planet, and what is it? What is the shift? How do you explain it? And how do we prepare for it? What is going to happen? Is a zombie apocalypse going to take us out? Is an alien invasion going to take us out? Will we be transported into a different reality? No. This is serious. People are treating the shift like they are about to go to the movie theaters or something. This is a shift from the tactical and industrial Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. The old paradigm was gas and oil, and the new paradigm will be data, software, information, and attention by connecting the world's economy to a CBDC. What is a CBDC? A central bank digital currency. Most people will miss the biggest shift in generational wealth as well as the biggest spiritual shift in history, as everyone looks away and focuses on the economy collapse, alien invasions, WW30, vaccines, and zombie apocalypses. Right underneath your nose, they are planning to switch over the current monetary system to blockchain technology, from electricity of the old lunar cycle into electquacity of new solar power energy. A step up in consciousness and evolution. And this is what will briefly disrupt things on the planet and change everything we once knew. You want to gauge it in the realm of reality, and gas, solar, wind are literally the future of our economy and our world. And furthermore, most people that are asking these questions are not trying to make it anyway. So even if I did tell you something was going to happen, you would not take the necessary steps to save yourself anyhow. And I am not here to save anybody or bring you up to anything. You are the sole controller of your own reality. You decide what happens next, and there is nothing to bring you up to. I am just a guide, not your leader. You are the leader. Now moving forward, see, they have been pumping out this mind prophecy out to the masses for years, with so much different concepts and philosophies and spellbound information that people are not really preparing for the real thing. Now the Mayan prophecy is real, but it is not based on an actual Gregorian date, and that is what people fail to realize. These dates only gauge round about estimates on when things begin and end, and it cannot tell you by on a draw of a dime on a specific date on when something is going to happen. Nature does not work like that. Nature evolves when it is ready, and it is a system that is done in cycles. Sometimes when you are going through a shift, whether it be external or internal, it may take days, years, decades even for that shift to play all the way out. Like, I will give you an example. Just like you have 24 RRs in a solar day, you have 24,000 years in a cosmic day. That is called an epoch. What is the definition of an epoch? A division of time, which is within itself, is a subdivision of a larger period of time. Our 24,000 full cycle is a natural reflective. So, this reality that we are currently in is the fourth dimension. Now people may say, I thought you're not supposed to be physical when you enter the fourth dimension. No, you are still matter as a fourth dimensional being. It is just that there is different types of matter. That is why on one half of the spectrum, a lot of people are feeling tired right now in life, feeling as if you are going to die if you do not change your diet. And when people think of diet, they automatically think food or what you consume through the mouth. The true diet is what you take in from your mind and your soul, which ultimately affects your heart. That is why arrhythmia is one of the leading diseases on the planet, because people's hearts are out of rhythm. Your heart is heavy and out of rhythm because you have too much emotions on your heart. Attachments, lies, illusions, fear, grief, shame. This is what makes you heavy and difficult for you to get to your destination. You must be light and you must be flexible, because when you are not, it is causing your body not to be at ease, thus creating a diseased effect on your body. How do you become light and flexible? By keeping your respiratory system in order. And that is what the spirit is. That is why the word spirit is hidden in the word respiratory system. There is no huge significance about it. People commonly mistake the spirit for which the force that moves you, which should never be mistaken whatsoever, because the only true force that moves you is the soul. Now, how do you keep the respiratory system in order? You treat your body the same way you would train a puppy. You must let your body always know who's boss. Here you have 1 trillion of cells within your vessel, and they all look at you as God of the system. You must realize that you yourself were once a cell just like them. But you were intelligent enough, even back then as a cell. You were the one cell that made it. You had an idea that one day you will become a full functioning body, and the rest of the cells followed you as a group. Some became your organs, stem cells, brain cells, and heart organs X. Just like a mini-boss, you made sure all your cells had a position and a duty. So now that you have grown into a fully functional body and proved and convinced to your cells now look up to you as God. So you must make your cells respect you, or else your cells will reject you and feel as if they can do a better job than you, which then creates free radical cells. And to be honest, if you cannot be disciplined like this with your own body, you are not really equipped to deal with other areas of life, whether it be relationships, business, or children. It is all connected. Your health is your wealth. Some may ask the question, people may want to know, have I made the shift? And how do I know if I resonated with the shift or not? Truly, it comes down to one question. Has your DNA been repaired? And only you as a soul being will know the answer to this question. When you know, you know. And if you don't know, it's not it. Simple as that. Because the shift starts internally first. One may ask, how do I repair my DNA? Having an active, healthy lifestyle. Burning out all your desires. Being pure within your expressions. Being pure within your genetics. These are the 4 steps to repairing your DNA. Now people may ask, I want to repair my DNA, but where do I start? You start by taking one thing that you love and quitting it today at this very moment. That is where you start. I am sure you have thousands of things that you are addicted to and that you love. What I am saying is to just pick one thing that you love and eliminate it from your life. Do that right now. Imagine a construction owner you never see but only hear about, showing up unannounced on a construction site. You're going to be on your best behavior because you know that he is the owner of the company, and at any minute, you can be fired if you're not doing your job correctly. It's similar to being in control of your autonomic nervous system. You are the company owner. You can replace old cells with new ones at any time. Your body is the construction site, and your cells are the construction workers. Again, you must always let your body know who's the boss at all times. Now, once you repair your DNA, you will be able to be more in tune with your ancestors and the universe, because your cords are not severed anymore, and you are now under a new tone and frequency. And this is what dictates how a person looks, their shape, their appearance, and why some can adapt quicker than others. Your kidneys are connected to your ears, the liver is connected to your eyes, the lungs are connected to your nose, your stomach is connected to your mouth, and your heart is connected to your tongue. All of these 5 elements on your face are connected to your internal organs, and this is all based on tone and frequency, and tones are important, and names are important, because names carry a vibration when you address yourself, or the Most High, or the universe in the right tone and frequency. You will get access a lot quicker, a lot swifter, and will receive a more favorable response. And not only that, but you will not be as confused. Things will start to become clear for you. Like I said, tones are very important, and names are important. I have studied all types of tones and frequencies, from Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Rastafarianism, and what I noticed is that if you study them all from an esoteric point of view, you realize that they're all saying the same thing. That is why I do not draw off one religion, and I just deal with the source. Because you have certain rabbis, certain bishops and ministers that are confused. Thus, the world is so confused based on a spell. We spell words out, and that is exactly what has happened. A spell has been placed on humanity through words, and the spell must be broken through words. So therefore, this is why I'm bringing out this information. Like a wise man told me, what you are hearing is not coming from me, it is coming through me. I am not here to attack anybody, and no, I am not an atheist. I do not get caught up on atheism, either, because atheism means you do not identify with any type of source, and the universe happened by mere coincidence. So basically, nothing came from nothing. And let me tell you something, there's nothing that comes from nothing. Every form has a function. And anything that is created with a form and a function means that it was engineered. And anything that is engineered means that there is a mind behind it. So yes, not only is that point of view ignorant, facts do not really support that conclusion, so I do not draw off that energy either. I do not draw off the energy of being a devil worshiper, because a devil just means wicked, diabolical, and disagreeable, and just the adversary of something. So, when you are a devil, you're just an adversary of a certain form of thought. So, anybody can be a devil, because a devil is just somebody who is against a certain thing. On some terms, yes, I play the devil, because there are some things in this world that I am against. I do not get caught up in the emotional meaning of these words, like many people do, because that is where you get caught up at. You must do your own research. If you are going to put your faith into something, you cannot put your faith into man. You must put your faith into your own research and from what you understand from your own studies. That is what it comes down to. Now, as far as the religions, I just want to say one more thing, and I am going to go ahead and close this out. But as far as the religions go, the reasons why I do not deal with the religions is because a lot of people who are religious spend more time debating, arguing, and trying to convert folks over to their own form of worship, when really the true work of religion was to clean up the planet and bring light to the planet. This is a very dark planet at the moment. There is a lot of unhealthy people on this planet that need consultation and help, and I do not think the religions do a just job in helping these people. Many of the religious leaders are sick themselves. They are doing all types of things with their diet that their own Bible tells them not to do. You got Christians who are mad at other Christians for preaching what the Bible says. And I am not judging anybody, I'm just pointing out the facts. So before you try to go over here and convert somebody else, you need to check your own self and your own diet. Before you look at the next person, you need to check and see if you're even right with your higher self. Because that is what it comes down to. It is really about the higher self and the lower self. And what I am here to do is to bring and shed light on the higher self. And it is all about bringing light to this planet because people are confused and the planet is suffering based on humans' ignorance, while everything else on the planet is in balance. The animals are in balance, the water is balanced, the plants are in balance. But you know what brings the planet into a state of imbalance? Are humans. Humans are the root issue. Humans are the ones that need help. And we cannot dumb it down. And we cannot dumb it down anymore. People are just going to have to smarten up. It is time to speed up and bring forth the new evolution. You must learn to mind your emotions, because guilt can lead to shame, shame can lead to fear, and fear can lead to hate. Also, everything that is learned must be taught in degrees and levels. You cannot teach an individual everything before their time, or you can risk the danger of unhealthy attachments. Nor can you unlock a mind once it has reached a certain age. Most diseases known to man are mostly stemmed from these lower level emotions and will kill you faster than they heal you. And those emotions are fear, guilt, shame, grief, lies, illusions, and attachments. These are the 7 demons you must overcome. But first, you must learn the art of manifestation, which I am here to teach you how to create anything you want in this 3D reality. This is real, but I caution you. Just know that manifestation comes with a heavy price, but you cannot love the honey and hate the bees.